Hi, this is Debbie.
And this is Wendy, and we are Nourished Noshes, and we're going to talk about moving today.
Yep. Yep. Let's just say that it's January and it's a lot of people are kind of motivated right now because it's the beginning of January. A
That's
lot of
right.
people are motivated right now. So it seems like a timely time to talk about moving around.
That's right. And people are also saying it's so cold out. I don't want to go for walks anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Depending on where you
And
live. It's kind of warm out today here.
that's true. That's true. And something so many people say, but I think you were the first person who told me are, there's no bad weather. There's just bad clothing to be
Exactly.
out there. So bundle up.
That's right. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
So here's the issue, and I've been hearing it in my roundabouts wherever I'm going lately, and listening to random people talk about moving and winter and all that other stuff. But people complain about moving. People complain about exercising or working out. It's a problem.
It is a problem. People have a bad attitude about it. They're kind of grumpy about it. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people get it in their head and it kind of stays stuck in their head that um, that exercise is kind of a punishment, or that
It's
they have
something
to
they should do. Something
they
they should do.
should. Yeah, they're shitting on themselves.
Right.
And we want to respect that some people have maybe said, I'm going to take up running and then got hurt, or I'm going to start lifting weights and got hurt, or went to a yoga or Pilates and got hurt. And so we get that sometimes you get so excited and you start to do something and you get hurt and you kind of get derailed. It's hard to get back on track.
Right.
And what we want to say is get back on track.
Right. Well, and I also want to address that a lot of people are exercising and working out because they should, because someone told them they should be doing it, because they watched a show or heard somebody talk about, or their doctor or their somebody said it's really important to exercise. And I'm sure we all agree. Everybody knows exercise is good for us. We need to move our bodies. And I don't think anybody would argue with that. But the idea that it's not coming from their own, like their own want, their own need to do it, is
Yeah.
what's ultimately going to defeat them. And that's it. And I am one of those people. I am one of those people that as we've talked about before, I don't
Yes.
like the word exercise. I don't like
Right.
that word.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't,
okay
I
with
don't
it.
exercise.
Yeah. So our five foundation isn't called exercise, it's called move.
Yep,
It's called movement.
that's right. So I move and I work out, but I don't exercise. But the idea too is that I have moved most of my life. I've been an athlete and I like to play tennis now. I used to run. I've always moved. I've always been an active person, but I didn't like to exercise. I did the step aerobics back in the 90s and that was fun.
Yeah.
But I ran, but I didn't do any kinds of exercise or any kind of workouts, any kind of strength training because I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. And it wasn't until it became something for me that I decided was important. And what happened is I learned about the word sarcopenia in my 40s,
Yes.
which means
Yes.
your muscles start to break down and degrade basically when you get older. And it scared me. And
Yeah.
so that is what got me motivated because I said, no, I am not going to be a weak middle-aged person or older person. I am going to be strong. I am not going to I'm not going to be one of those people that falls down and never gets up or falls down and, oh, that's the end of her kind of person. So it came from me. And that's what drives me to this day that, now talking more than 10 years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So,
I love that story. And that is exactly what we do with our clients, is help them figure out why exercise. If what is the purpose of it. And one of my identities is being a strong woman, because I really feel like the stronger I am in my physical body, the stronger I am in my mental body. And there's a direct correlation and I got sick this winter for the first time in ages, and I moved to get out of bed. and to get back into bed. I was down and out for 5 to 7 days.
Wow.
And when I finally got back to lifting weights, I felt so weak. And so we lose it faster,
So fast.
so fast. And that's kind of demoralizing. It's kind of, it's uncomfortable to think about, but that's real. It's the reality. And so one of my tenets is fine, miss one day, but never miss two.
Exactly, because it's not worth it. That's one of my motivating factors too. I can't stop because it's so hard to get back.
Yeah, a body in motion stays in motion, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. I think you had said something when we were talking about this before we started recording about how some people get discouraged because they probably remember themselves a certain way. You remember being a certain way, like maybe you were an athlete when you were younger, and
Yeah.
you remember being agile and being able to do things that you can't do anymore, or maybe you just simply used to work out in a certain way, and our bodies change.
Yeah.
And so it's we have to adapt. We have to decide to move differently than we used to, and that's okay. It's okay to move differently than we did in our 20s and 30s, because we're not in our 20s or 30s anymore,
Right.
unless you are. And enjoy yourself
Well,
then.
and I think that adoption is a really important word because, some people look at runners and think that, oh, I'm not a runner, therefore I can't achieve these things that a runner's body has. And that's just crap. It's just not true. There are so many things that we can do for our body, and there are so many different movements that we can get curious. If you've never played pickleball, or if you've never, been to, done any kind of swimming, and this is where the exploration is kind of fun when we're sitting with clients, is just to say, well, what was the last thing that you did, and how was that? And the other thing we wanted to talk about is this idea that maybe it's that you need to be with a group, that's an accountability program,
Right.
or maybe you are a solo. Maybe maybe it's just one-on-one, like tennis, like you do.
Right.
Your tennis.
Yeah, or maybe it's absolutely alone. Maybe you're watching a YouTube workout channel, and that's how you work out because that's what's comfortable for you. There's a way for you to move no matter who you are, what your body looks like, how your body moves. There's a way for you to work out. That's the way it is. It's just there's not one way that works for anybody in particular, but there's a way that works for everybody.
Yeah. I remember last winter helping my folks stack their cord of wood, and it was so much work, but I felt so able to be able to push that huge cart and doing all of my squats, and so when I'm doing squats this winter, I'm like, I'm doing squats so I can stack wood.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if you're a mama, if you're a young mom, you're squatting to pick up your kid. You're carrying them around, that's your weightlifting. So one of the studies that we found is from Ellen Langer. Let's talk about that, because that is a really important study.
Yeah, really is. She's a Harvard psychologist, and she studies the mind and body connection. And so interesting. This is a kind of an old study now. It's probably 12 years old or so, maybe 13 years old, where she studied hotel maids, because you think about hotel maids, their whole job is moving all day long, right?
They're on their feet all day.
They're on their feet. They're lifting things. They're pushing things. They're
dragging.
Right. They're active human beings. And so she wanted to study them, and she actually did a survey with hotel maids, and I think there are 84 of them. And 67% of these maids said that they do not exercise. They did not see themselves as people who were exercising, despite all of the activity they did. In fact, when they actually looked at what they did, they exceed the Surgeon General's recommendation for daily exercise. They exceed it.
Yeah.
So, but they didn't see themselves that way. So what they did in the study was they divided this group of 84 hotel maids in half. And in one half, they explained to them all the calories that they burn in any day that they're working. They talked about all the different movements that they do that equate to exercising. And they talked about the importance of exercise and how it helps with blood pressure and body mass and all the other things that they measure. The other half of the people they didn't talk to at all. So they I don't know how much time went by, but they went.
I think it was about a month.
Yeah, so a significant amount of time went by, and they invited them back to do the measurements on all of them that they had in the first time. And they found that the one group that was educated about exercise had actually lost weight, had burned more calories, their BMI went down, their blood pressure went down, all of their measurements got better because of them knowing that what they were doing, which is no different than what the other group was doing, but knowing that they were doing it turned it into exercise in their body.
I love that because they knew they were quote unquote exercising, their metabolism shifted.
Yeah.
It was a mind body connection. And they did, do some other questions and made sure that they weren't doing anything different than they were before.
Right.
Did they start walking more at home, or did they do anything different? And they found that they weren't doing anything different. It was all this mindset, the placebo, right? I mean,
Exactly.
they were
It's
like,
the placebo
oh,
effect. Right.
I'm moving my body, therefore I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. And I can relate to that because I like to work out with people, more than I like to work out alone. And I notice that if I'm working out with people and I'm really engaged in conversation, which is a good part for connection, that's a wonderful thing for connection. But when I'm not paying attention to the workout, I don't get as good of a workout. Like I don't feel it like I had a workout. So to me, it's important to tune into my body when I'm working out to really know, oh, I'm working this muscle, and oh, that muscle's, feeling stronger. That muscle's getting exhausted right now. That's important for me to feel at the end of it, to be like, whew, I worked out. It's a big difference. So.
And there are new studies out that do talk about this connection when you're actually thinking about your legs when you're doing a squat, or your shoulders when you're doing a shoulder press, that your muscle growth is actually a little bit stronger and higher when you're really paying attention. So good for you. When you're paying attention, you really do feel like you have a better workout.
Right, right.
And to take that a step further, and this mind-body connection, there are some statistics that are really scary. Kelly McGonigal talks about this in one of her books, The Joy of Movement. She talks about some experiments that were talking about they actually forced moderately active adults into a sedentary state. They kept them there for about 2 weeks, and they measured their personality shift, and they measured anxiety, tiredness, and hostility went way up. So when they were and some were randomly assigned to this, so they didn't know what they didn't pre-know what the test was all about. But 88% of these people became more depressed, and 31% declined in life satisfaction when they were asked about how satisfied they were in their life. 31% just from not moving for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I wonder, and we're kind of in a tough time post-COVID age right now, with anxiety and depression at an all-time high. And so part of what we wanted to come on and talk with on this podcast is this idea that marrying the mind and body together can really help reduce the state of anxiety and depression for all of us. And it's moving just a little bit more. We aren't talking about going out and, doing something 7 days a week.
Right.
Maybe it's just starting out something small. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing kind of a thing. And if you want help with that, get a trainer that you really know, like, and love, or connect with us to talk about some ideas. And we have resources that we can point you to as well.
Absolutely. And at the least, if you're doing nothing, it's a matter of climbing an extra flight of stairs or walking around the block. You know, it really doesn't take much to go from zero. You know, if you're at zero, it's easy to do something. If you're not at zero, just do a little bit more. We always talk about the 1% more. So whatever you're doing, if you feel like you probably, you know, need to move more to feel better and to be stronger, just a little bit more. Just do a little bit more. And then maybe next week, a little bit more. You know, you have to find what works for you, number one, and what is going to be sustainable. So we always talk about finding something you love to do. And like for me, maybe it was simply just changing the word from exercise to working out, and also finding my own reason of wanting to be strong. But maybe you need to really find something you really enjoy to do, really enjoy doing. And there's so many things you can do. There's thousands of things you can do to move your body, you know, and none of them have to be exercise.
That's right.
Yeah. One of our group members loves to dance. She dances every morning in her house by herself. That's her movement. And we love that. Yeah.
And she has so much joy with the movement and the music paired together. And she's got these playlists, and she just knows if she gets up and moves her body, her day will be completely different.
Yeah. Yep. So we invite you to find a movement that you find joyful in some way. And if you're not enjoying it, find a different movement.
Yeah. And maybe grab a friend and do some movement together. Maybe instead of talking on the phone, you do a walk and talk, or you talk on the phone and walk. And if this resonated for you, if you have a loved one that you want to share this podcast with, or a friend, please do. Please share the podcast and like it, and pass on the love of moving and taking care of this beautiful body we've been gifted.
Absolutely. And check us out. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and we have a newsletter. You can go to our website if you want to subscribe to that. We also have a Friday Stuff We Dig newsletter that goes out of things that we are really liking to share with people every week. So lots of stuff for you guys.
That's right. So our podcast is Nourish Noshes, and our YouTube channel is Nourish Noshes. And we're also on Facebook and all the other platforms as Nourish Coaches. Yeah.
All right. Get moving.
Get moving.